my loves. Hello. Hello, my loves. Hi, this is another edition of Talks with Toya from the Complete Woman podcast. And this is a part of my grief series that I have been posting about to help others with grief and help others to deal with grief, because I have gotten a lot of questions about grief, and because of the fact that I don't feel like I'm as extremely knowledgeable about the thing about grief, because I've had grief, but again, I haven't had some forms of grief, and certain people pass away from around me, so it's kind of tough to kind of help people through that. And I wanted to make sure that I help the people. I wanted to make sure that the people get what they need to get, and me not trying to feel like I know everything, okay? So if you did not watch my video from last week, make sure you go check that out on YouTube with John Ortiz, when he talks about the journey of losing his wife, our dear friend Tiffany Ortiz. Make sure you go back and check that out so you can get the help you need, hopefully, if you have lost a spouse. All of us don't know how that feels. I pray that I never know how that feels, but we still bless God. So today, I have my best friend, one of my best friends, one of the Tiffany's. If everybody know me, all my best friends are named Tiffany. Correct. So this is one of them, but like I said, this series is about grief, and it's a lot of that going around right now. It's a lot more because of COVID and all of that. It's a lot of grief. And you can grieve more than just someone dying. You can grieve a relationship, or you can grieve a job, losing a job, or you can grieve anything, and I hear that people grieve losing animals. I don't really do that, but hey, I'm not good. So you can grieve all kinds of things at all kinds of levels. Everyone grieves differently. So I know one thing that I don't do is ever tell anyone how to grieve. I never say, this is how you should do it. You should just go ahead and get over it. It's a time frame. I don't do that, because I understand that people handle things at different levels, and every relationship is different, because you may lose somebody and feel some type of way, and I lose somebody and I feel a totally different type of way. So I can't hold you to how I would grieve. So I try my very best not to do that with people around me. So with this whole grief, what happened was, like I said, was getting questions, and when people talk about certain things, that certain people that they've lost, I just be at a loss for words sometimes. I'm just like, oh my God, but I want to be there for you, So I think the people that have asked me, one in particular is Shanice, and I hope that she is watching this particular one, because she asked me about dealing with grief with losing her father. She lost her father, and I lost my father, but me and my father didn't have the type of relationship where I am still grieving over it. I am absolutely okay. Okay, now at first I wasn't. At first I was an absolute wreck, because again, people, you can lose someone, but you can feel totally different about the loss than somebody else would. I lost my dad. Okay, Tiff lost her dad. And this is why she is here, not just because she's my best friend, but because she lost her dad. And plus, she's lost a lot of people since we were young. Her aunts and cousins and grandparents have been dying even before I started really losing people. So I was just like, I would be there for her, but I couldn't really relate, because I had never really lost anyone. But my dad died before hers did, and I went through a time. She'll tell you, I went through a time. I cried and cried for weeks, and it was because I was mourning the fact that me and him would not have the relationship that I desired. So being that went in the grave with him, that really took me through something. And a lot of people didn't understand it. A lot of people couldn't figure out why the heck I was so upset. But when you have lived a life basically not having a relationship with your dad, and then to now have him dying, it's like, dang, that's, I just lost my opportunity, So I had already experienced it on a level. So when she lost her dad, I could kind of relate, but not really. But I still was there for her because her dad was like my dad. Like, y'all couldn't tell me. He's not everybody's dad. He was my dad because he had been there since I was a little girl. So thank you very much, because we have been friends for 3 decades. Okay? Yes. So.
Correct. Correct.
So, anywho, it was very, 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 very tough for me to, I think I grieved him more than I grieved my own dad. And because, like I said, he was like a dad for me, for real, for real. I could call him for anything. He would be there. He would give me advice. He was the elder days. So he was like straight and narrow. He would go to that word so quick, and he was so comical. I absolutely loved him, and he was lovable. Anybody he met loved him. So I wanted Tiffany to come on and try to, explain, because I told my friend when I was approached with these questions about grief, I said, and then started to do this series, and I prayed about who to have. And she was one of them. And I said, but friend, and I know everything. I know people say that, but I know everything about her, okay? And we talk about everything, and I know her emotions and all that kind of stuff. So with all of the loss that she's had, I have never known her to be a miserable person. I have never known her, like, I absolutely forget sometimes, honestly, that she's even grieving, because she handles it so well. So it's like, oh girl, I forgot. You have to remind me. So I literally do. So I be forgetting. I mean, my memory is bad anyway. But she carries it so well, and that doesn't mean that she's not hurting. That doesn't mean that she's not grieving. That doesn't mean that it's not tough for her. But she's never this woe is me type person for her to lose as many people as she has. Now, me on the other hand, child, my friend gonna have to move back to Jacksonville. Understand? So I am here with her on location, as y'all can see, because I'm in town with her. I came to visit her for the weekend. So I am here with her on location. Yes, because the complete woman can go anywhere. So just don't fret. I promise you. Okay?
Okay.
So we're going to get right into it. So Tiff, we're going to start out light. We ain't going to go into the nitty gritty stuff. Okay. Tiffany is a daughter. Tiffany is a massage therapist. She's an amazing massage therapist. So later we will give details on how to get in contact with her if you're in the Atlanta area, and if she's visiting Jacksonville at some point and you want to book some appointment with her, you can do that as well for her services. But she's an amazing massage therapist that definitely can get your body right. I didn't know anything about massage therapy or massaging nothing until she went to school for it. And she was the first person and one of the only people to put their hands on my body like that. So when she moved, I thought that it was just going to be... It took me a while to go to a massage therapist after she left. It really did, because I just really could not get with somebody else putting their hands on me like that outside of my man. Or my doctor. So like I say, later we'll give details on that to link up with her and find out. But tell us more about you. I know I told a lot because I know like your life for real. But tell us so people can get insight on you, friend. Don't do that. I can't help it. I know your life. I can't. Sorry.
Well, thank you, friend, for that wonderful introduction to who I am.
Welcome.
You are so proficient in that. Again, my name is Tiffany. For those who don't know, like Toya said, I am a licensed massage therapist. I have definitely been the type of person that believes in strength in numbers. And I believe that wisdom comes from the multitude of counsel. So a lot of times when we're dealing with certain things in life, we don't feel like we need to talk to anyone, or we don't feel like we need to express how we're feeling in that moment. Those were the things I did not do. I definitely spoke to people, and I definitely allowed myself to be present with my emotions in that moment. So that's the type of person I am. I have a wonderful business. Like Latoya said, we'll talk about that at the conclusion of this interview. And I am a wonderful person to know. If you don't have a Tiffany in your life, you definitely should get you one, because we're pretty amazing. But the ones that are born in the month of October, it's the best thing you could ever have in your life.
And I have two of those.
It's the best thing you could ever have in your life. I'm telling you.
Hey,
it's
other Tiffany.
Hey, Tiff. I believe that will conclude what I will speak of myself.
Okay. That's fine, because people, often find it kind of tough to talk about. And she be so humble, child. She don't want to talk. She don't want to really say much about herself. What you want me to but
say.
It's okay.
I long walks on the beach. I'm a Libra.
Oh, we putting our dating profile on here. Okay, so if we're doing that, I got y'all. Talk to me. She's amazing.
I am. Get your attention.
She's wifey material.
All day, every day.
That's not what this video about. So give us insight. Paint us a picture of what, like I said, her dad's name. His dad was Elder Days. He was an elder in the church at Philippian Community Church first, where I met them, and with our bishop, the late great Bishop L.C. Callahan, and now the great Bishop Jones is over it, and little Virgil Jones, Pastor Virgil, our amazing friend, who is an awesome preacher. Y'all check them out.
Yes.
But that's where I met them, and he's always been a mighty, mighty, mighty man of God. So tell us what it was like being his child.
Okay. So my father's name was Anthony Days. Like Latoya said, he was definitely an elder at Philippian Community Church. My father gave his life over to the Lord, not at a young age. And so that's the misconception. A lot of people think that you preaching, you did this, you must have been doing that since you were young. He didn't. My dad actually was the type of person that was in the streets. And he'll tell you himself if he was here. He was definitely the type of person that was in the street. He definitely had the opportunity to learn a lot of things the hard way. So growing up in our household, by the time I was born, this is when my dad really took his walk with Christ very seriously. My father was absolutely comical. From the time he opened his eyes to the time he closed his eyes, you had to be on guard, because you don't know what was going to come out this man's mouth. You don't know.
Children are the same.
It's sadness, but it's great to have us in your life. My father was very strict. When I say very strict, my father definitely had a set of principles and standards that he had for us as his daughters. Mm-hmm. He did not waver.
And friends.
Yes, because if you were my friend, you definitely had to be compliant with the things that he had for us to do. My dad never was the type of person to condemn you. He will embarrass you, though. Yeah. But please understand, he will embarrass you. You know, that old motto, if you embarrass me in public, I'm embarrassed you in public. And my father lived by that, so you don't want to embarrass him in public, because he's going to shine on you. Like I said, he was comical from the time he opened his eyes to the time he closed them. My dad was very generous and giving. My dad was the very chivalrous man. One of the things I loved about my father was his relationship with my mom. Because I grew up in one of those households where I never heard my parents argue, never heard them fight. I never heard disrespect come out of my parents' house. And again, as an adult now, I understand they probably had some really intense arguments and discussions. Mm-hmm. But as parents, and my father never allowed us to be privileged to any of that. We never saw it. So I grew up in a very happy household, very comical, but very serious. My dad was definitely the type of person that showed us what chivalry was. Like I said, with my mom, they used to make me so sick. Oh, they used to make me so sick. When I tell you them jokers used to flirt all the time, kissing and loving, and who that girl over there? Who that is sitting over there on that couch? And who that doing? Oh my God, y'all need a room, okay? He always brought us.
Don't do them.
Huh? Don't do them. Boy, no. That's how I got here.
That's how the people be talking about me and Devin, and that's fine.
We definitely talk about you and Devin in that capacity. My father always did surprise things for us. So he would like send flowers or balloons to the school just because I was thinking about you. We had daddy-daughter dates. Leading up to his death, we had a daddy-daughter date. He literally took each and every one of his daughters out on a one-on-one date with just him. My father didn't waver in the way that he taught us Christian values. So we definitely were raised in a really good platform to be really good Christians. Mm-hmm. And really not only that, but be true to yourself and understanding how you need to get a relationship with God for yourself. But more importantly, the relationship that he pushed the most was the relationship with ourselves. taught us how to be women that carried ourselves well. Like, he used to check us all the time. I ain't raising no nasty women. Y'all need to do this, do that. So we got this from a very young age. He did not play that with us at all. So my father was a very strict but lovable. He was the best teddy bear you will ever have. I never had anything bad to say about my dad. He was just the most awesome person ever in life. He was. I miss him dearly. He was.
That was my dad.
He was.
That was my dad.
That was, listen, let me tell y'all, that was everybody's dad. My dad was the type of person, he was very loving to any and everybody who came in contact with him. He would take his time and talk to you. He would take his time and show you things. He was like everybody's dad or everybody's uncle. Like, he was that person.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
He was.
But for the people that knew him for real, he was the best guy ever. The best guy ever.
He was awesome.
He really was.
He was awesome. I was just like, I just couldn't even believe, because, you know, again, my experience with my dad, it was just like, you legit, like, your family, you legit, like, are dumb. Like, you couldn't even really look at him as a father figure like that, because it's kind of like, no, you dumb for real. You done for real. Like, I can respect you, and I definitely got my act together when I was around him, because he did not play.
Correct.
But at the same time, like she said, he didn't convict you. He didn't make you feel bad. Like, even though he would pull out his big Bible and his Jesus piece, I won't say what it is because we will not talk about him.
My dad had a Bible, a Concord,
and
there was another little device over here that we won't talk about.
Yeah, we won't talk about it because we can't, because the people try to tarnish his name after death, and you won't do that to him.
You can try to tarnish it, but the fact of the matter is, the belt still got power.
Oh my gosh, friend, why did you say it?
Because it's necessary.
It is necessary.
It's necessary.
Spell the rod.
Come on, if you spell the rod.
Because we're going to talk.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Oh my.
Okay, what I'm trying to tell you is we were raised in a household where the rod was not spared
at all, and it was pure love.
It was definitely it was wonderful.
Ooh,
it's definitely something that has been passed down to generations. But it was all in love. It was all in correction. It was all in let me help you understand.
Use it a lot.
Not on me. And that would be the truth.
We're moving on.
Okay.
Maybe that's what it was, friend, because you ain't have to call me talking about, hey, maybe it was the other ones, but we're not going to talk about it.
We're not, because that's not about them. And they're not here to defend themselves.
They're not.
So, yes.
And we love them.
And we do. Hey, Wills.
So, Tiff, give us, now we're getting into the nitty gritty stuff and all that. Okay. I have to prepare the people because, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
So give us kind of the details or insight to what led to his passing.
Okay. So this was a very difficult question because it was tough to speak of. My father, if anybody knew him, my father was a really big guy, really tall, stout guy. And my father injured his back a long time ago. And my father just started having a lot of health issues after that. It was surgery after this, hip replacements. It was just a lot of different things that was happening to him. So my dad was on a lot of pain medication. He really was on a lot of pain medication. And leading up to his death, I remember my mom telling him, I need you to go to the doctor. I need you to tell them to give you like a higher dosage of one pill versus several different types of medication, because you know, we in the Black community especially, we don't pay attention to how much our heart and how much our liver can take. So my dad definitely was one of those people that was on the verge of really injuring a lot of those organs. So the night that my father passed away, he was feeling a lot of pain in his chest, and he thought it was indigestion or acid reflux. So, you know, he went to the store, got the medication for the acid reflux. And when he came back, he took the medication and laid down. We thought everything was fine with him. My father woke up in the middle of the night and was like, I need to get up. I need some air. I need to go outside. I need some air. So him and my mom got up. They went outside. And my mom said she noticed how my dad was kind of leaning on the car. He didn't look well. But he kept saying he was okay. He was coherent. He was talking to her. They were laughing, as they tend to do. And he came back inside like it was nothing. Everything was fine. My father said he felt a little bit better. He sat on the couch. The wonderful thing about God is God always has a way to prepare us for things that we don't know are coming.
Yeah.
So my dad asked my mom for some water. And now that we look back on it, he didn't want my mom to see what was getting ready to happen to him. So he asked my mom for some water, so my mom walked away to go get the water, which means she had to kind of get out of view of him. And he just started convulsing. He started convulsing uncontrollably. My mom ran back, tried to really get into helping, and my mom called 911. Ambulance came. My father had a massive heart attack. The paramedics were working on him for hours trying to revive him, and it was a very difficult situation to see. It really traumatized my mom for a while, having to see that, and they pronounced him dead when they got to the hospital. They worked on him really hard. So what was the cause of death was the heart attack, and we were thinking leading up to that it was because of all the medication that he was putting into his body, and he wasn't filtering it correctly. You know, you have to do detoxes, you have to drink a lot of water, you have to eat a certain way. There's a lot of different things you have to do to be able to accommodate that level of medication and still be healthy. So it was a very difficult thing to get that phone call that, you know, hey, things don't look too well, and then to get the phone call that he had passed. So it was a really difficult thing, more so for my mother than anything, because she was there when it happened. She didn't see everything. She saw the end. She didn't see the whole thing. So I think that was the blessing of God, not to let her really have to play that on a consistent basis. But what she did see did traumatize her son.
I'm sure. And so as she was saying before, you know, it was tough for her to get the call because she wasn't living in Atlanta. She wasn't near, so she had to get information via whatever anybody was telling her. So that was very, very tough, you know, to not be in the presence of your family, because all of her family was here. So it's like, dang, you know, and I gotta hear this and I can't get to him quick. So it's like, that was really tough. And I remember you dealing with that.
I remember it just like it was yesterday. I mean, it's a thing that nobody wants to have to ever get that phone call that your parent, you know, is dealing with something like this, and then to have to get another phone call saying, okay, he not breathing. Hey, we can't get his heart to stop. Hey, we can't get it jump start again. You know, it was really overwhelming for me at the time. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, you know, the spaz out was real at my house, in my room, in that moment. I mean, I think I may have just torn the floor up. Now, I ain't gonna tell nothing in the room, but that floor, tore that floor up. You know, because it's one of those things where you're like, I wish I had one more thing I could have said to him. I wish I had one more moment. Or more importantly, why wasn't I there? Or more importantly, why didn't we see this coming? Why weren't we able to do this or do that? And I could have did if you would just listen to me and started juicing, or maybe if you would listen to me and not taking that pill and made your appointment sooner. Y'all, it's crazy. My father passed on a Tuesday. His doctor's appointment was like that Thursday or that Friday. So, you know, it's like, it was just really tough to just sit down with that and have to try to process that in that moment, and then to hear your family hollering and screaming on the phone. You can't hug them, you can't do nothing because I'm in a whole nother state. I can't get to you in enough time. So it was just really, really rough.
That whole day was crazy because I just so happened to be off of work. And it was so crazy. Why was I even? Because I was sick. I wasn't feeling well, I think it was.
It might have been.
Because that's about the only way I'm going to not be at work is if I'm not feeling well.
It might have been if
I'm going out of town. So it was so crazy, and she called me, and one thing about me, I'm coming to you. When you call me, I'm coming. If I can, I'm coming.
The pull-up game.
Because I need, and especially when I know it's your daddy, and I knew the relationship that they had, and I was just like, oh no, I need to get to my friends. So that was so crazy. It's like God orchestrated everything to be how it needed to be, because you had no one outside of your husband here, basically to really lean on like that.
Correct.
So it was like, because at the time she was married.
At the time
She was married. And we just don't,
exactly.
I just had to insert that so people can be like,
no, I had, because I had, and I had some support from him. I'm not going to take that away from him.
That's what I said, aside from him, you didn't have anyone else.
Right.
So I went to, make sure he
That's
was
all
there.
the recognition you need. Okay, so.
Friend, you do that on my video.
Oh, sorry, what?
Okay.
That's going to be edited. Go ahead.
Hopefully. Because my editing skills are not great.
And that's fine if it's not. It's the truth. Here we go.
All right. So.
No, I'm just playing. Y'all, seriously. He was definitely a rock for me that day during that time. I'm not going to take nothing away from him because it was such an abandonment that happened instantly. Y'all don't understand. It was instant abandonment. Instant. You know what I'm saying? Because I was a real big fan of my daddy.
He was a daddy girl.
And so it was instant abandonment. Like, how could you leave
he was a girl dad.
He really was a girl dad. He was a real girl dad too, y'all. He really was. Like, it was nothing Daddy wouldn't do. I mean, he'll talk trash about it, but he'll do it.
He'll talk trash because that's just what
it was. It was comical, but correct. He was definitely a big rock for me because he was my go-to guy. You know what I mean? Like, he was the one I went to advice. He was my pastor, so you have to keep that in mind. This was my pastor. This was the one that taught me everything about the word. He was my pastor. So, that abandonment hit me really hard. And I was so grateful for Toya. I was so grateful for Corey. I was so grateful for anybody who was there in that moment, in that time, that allowed me. Yeah,
because our other best friend, Tiffany, she came along, because we have a mutual best friend, Tiffany, and I have another best, it's a complicated, but it's Tiffany's. But anywho, she came along, and so a couple other people came along, and they were there for her, Sharice, and others came by our side and stuff because we understood that was a lot, and in my family, we all grieved him as well, and we were there because we are all friends. All the families both of our families are friends, so it was just like major. So as we were talking about that, like, how was it even dealing with the absence of such a massive person, like as a family? How do you move on with the fact that this massive being and this incredible, amazing person who basically kind of held your family together? How is it transitioning to living life without him? How did y'all push through that?
The initial was the hardest. When you have somebody that was such a rock for your family, and he was the head of that family, he was the rock. So initially it was very difficult for us to maneuver. But let me tell you what was really awesome about that relationship. My dad was a teacher.
Yeah.
So he taught us. So when we were coming up against certain situations and dealing with certain things, we would always just play back in our minds all the things Dad would say to us, especially when we were grieving him and missing him, because we had lost family members before him, and he would tell us, always carry the memories of that person in your heart and cast your cares on God. He got you, and don't be afraid to grieve. I think that was one of the things that he said to me that was really hard for me because, we can't tell anybody how to grieve, and it's really hard grieving, but you have to give yourself permission to grieve. You can't bottle everything in. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made initially, because here I am, I'm my mom and dad's oldest daughter, and so I have to now take on that role of being strong, not only for my younger siblings but for my mom. And so because I have to be strong for these people, I didn't feel like I had permission to really grieve.
Good, friend.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
I didn't feel that way.
A lot of people feel like that's good.
When you're that person, when you have to be, that responsibility gets put on you, and you're like, I don't even know how to carry it because my heart is broken. I'm the one that's still dealing with this, but I can't show that right now. I have to be strong for my mom. I have to be strong for my younger siblings. So a lot of that for me was just balling it up inside and dealing with it when I had to. It's like, you just, one day you fine, and all of a sudden you crying for no doggone reason. You look so doggone schizopolar. You know what I mean? Schizopolar is a word that we use. It's not a medical term. It's something I put together. A little bit of schizophrenia, a little bit of bipolar.
She's a medical professional.
It's not a medical term, but it's how I felt at that time. I felt like I was all over the place. Why? Because I wasn't allowing myself to grieve. Right. I really wasn't giving myself that permission, And here's the thing too: when you're grieving like that, and you don't feel like you have permission to grieve, you have to have people around you that will hold space for you until you're strong enough to deal with your situation yourself. We moved on really well without my dad. I don't want to say his absence is never felt, because it's felt every day, all the time. Right. We still celebrate birthdays and everything, but what I would say is we moved on in a healthy way, because our relationships got better, with my siblings and my mom, because we really had to lean on each other a lot. So our relationships got better. We realized that my dad did everything. He did. So it was like a lot of stuff we had to learn how to do now, because now we had this being that was everything, and that got taken away. So like I said, it was that instant abandonment, and it just took a while to get through the abandonment, because I don't want to ever say over. Yeah. Because you don't get over abandonment, you get through it. That's good. So we worked through a lot of our abandonment issues.
You don't preach on your friend.
I'm not trying to preach. I'm telling you.
You always preach.
But I'm not. And here we go again. My father is an elder. And so because of that, everything I say got to be a sermon.
No, she's the preacher, but she don't want to do that. But it's okay. It's going to come one day, Lord. We're going to be preaching together. Come on, preaching together. Friends got to do things.
Oh, she's always trying to put theology in my path. But I will tell you this. My dad taught us to be strong, and it was not until he passed away that we recognized the strength. And it allowed our family to have the opportunity to move on. It was only because of the things he instilled in us. And I promise you, if it had not been for him introducing God to us and introducing the Holy Spirit to us, I don't know how we would have made it through. Some people like to grieve on their own, sit in the quiet corner and just. I don't understand that, and it's not. And I do understand that, because a lot of times you just want to be to yourself. But it's not the healthiest way for you to grieve, because when you're left with your thoughts like that, your mind will go all kind of ways.
Your mind is the devil's playground.
It is, and it allows depression and anxiety to set in, and then now you become this person that's housing all these mental issues. And why? Because of that one word that I keep saying, abandonment. You feel so abandoned when your parent leaves you. Because, it's like, this is my parent. This is somebody who birthed me, got me here, raised me, and then now I don't have them no more. There's a strong sense of abandonment. So if anybody is dealing with that, I'm praying for you, because it's not something you get over, you get through. And because you have to get through it, it takes time. And I think that was the other thing, too. Everybody around me allowed me to have time. That was the really important thing. A lot of people don't have time. Like, people like to rush your process. Get over it. Get over it. Don't let people make you feel like you need to get over things. Get through them. And the only way to get through them is you have to admit that you're hurting. And you have to admit that you feel abandoned.
True.
And I think those things, and with the strength that Dad gave us, we've been able to really progress forward in a really healthy way.
Y'all doing good.
I think we have. I think we're a work in progress, but I think the progress is definitely happening.
Y'all doing good. The only thing I know, I used to have to fuss at her all the time, because like she said, she didn't think she had the permission to grieve, and I used to be like, girl, you take care of everybody. You always looking out for everybody. If you don't let that stuff go and not listen, and that's why anybody, as I always say, anybody I talk to that's grieving, I always tell them. And she was one of my first teachers of that, because she, like I said, as a kid, I would get calls in the middle of the night saying that someone died or something like that. So she has taught me to look at grief in a certain way, even though I didn't have my own personal experience like that. So it was like, okay, because I know who she is and I know how she is, because some people do a little too much sometimes, and it don't even be that they be grieving for real, they just want attention. You know, but she never wanted attention, ever still to this day wants attention. The only reason she do these videos with me is because we've been friends for 3 decades, and she's the only Tiffany I can get to do this because the rest of them, they gonna be. But she been friends with me for 3 decades, so she can't tell me no. So, you know, she never wants the attention, so I just be like, friend, let that stuff go, let it out, you know, grieve and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, she was my first teacher of how to help people grieve and how to give people their space and to give the people permission. Because again, as I stated before in my other video, you never know when the shoe will be on the other foot. So when I did start experiencing some real grief, I really was like, okay, now I see. Like, and y'all gonna give me 50 feet. Let me deal with this because this is too much, okay? And I'm way more emotional than she is. So, and when she was talking about her dad and, you know, what he instilled in, that is part of what Toya Nuggets, if you guys follow me on social media, that's where Toya Nuggets come in, because he will always say, this is a golden nugget that I'm giving you. So take this nugget.
And you know what else he'll tell you? I'm gonna put these nuggets on the plate. I'm gonna sit them right here on the table for you, and you go pick them up whenever you need them. That was his thing, girl.
So and that's why I called a friend and I said, friend, I'm gonna write another book and I'm gonna call it something nuggets. I'm gonna call it, and I'm gonna dedicate it to Dad, because he always instilled something in us every time we were around him, even without even having effort. Like, he would just instill something and you'll walk away and be like, you know what? Like, I call Tiff with a problem. These are the moments that you miss him for real. I call Tiff with a problem. She'll 3-way him real quick and be like, so Daddy, so Toya got this da-da-da-da-da.
Correct, we did.
Without nothing, like no warning. She be like, oh, hold on a minute.
That was our
Daddy.
counselor.
And I was like, so Daddy, so da-da-da-da. And he'd be like, daughter.
Because you gotta say it right.
Daughter.
Yes. Oh
the
my
Bible
God.
says.
Come on.
He was our own personal TDJ.
He was our personal TDJ. Oh my God.
He was absolutely amazing. So that is great. And as she mentioned her mom, his wife, about how she dealt with it, she has written a book, and this is called Cried Myself to Life by Carol Days. If you guys want to purchase this book, she talks about her journey with grief, with losing her husband and getting through that. And I had a conversation with her yesterday, and she said her faith level has gone up so much. It's like now enduring that has shown her that nothing is impossible for God, and that now that you can't tell her she can't have anything. You can't tell her she can't get through anything. She can deal with anything once she has dealt with that. So she wrote a book, and it's on Amazon, right, Brent?
It's on Amazon. Okay,
so look that up. Cry Myself to Life by Carol Days. Look that up and go check it out. And it should definitely, it's really good. I've read it. So it should definitely help you if you're grieving. Even if you're grieving a child or anything, any kind of grief. A spouse, a friend, or whatever, this can definitely help you. So check that out. Cried Myself to Life by Carol Days. So I had to plug mommy. Really?
She's definitely gonna appreciate.
You already know she thinks she a celebrity and the paparazzi gonna be out for.
She definitely gonna have her shades on, girl. In the car with tinted windows with shades. I'm telling you, my mom is sick.
She is crazy, and I love her, man. She's so crazy. And like Tiff said earlier too, their relationship, their dynamic, like I had never seen it before. Like you can actually like your spouse, like you can
actually like your spouse
and have fun with them, because you know, in the black community, I don't know about anybody else, but in the black community, that is not something that you see a lot. You see them, they just do life, they just go through life together. You don't see them really hanging out and laughing and stuff. It's changing some, but when we were growing up, we didn't really see that. But her mom and daddy,
oh my God, I'm gonna tell y'all a brief story, really brief. My mother came to Jacksonville to help take care of my grandmother, and she stayed for 1 week. That was the longest time she had ever been away from my dad, was 1 week. My mama was like, oh, your daddy coming to get me on Friday, so Tiff, I need you to take me to get my hair done. I need to go get an outfit. I need to do all this. I was like, for what? And she was like, your daddy coming on Friday. I was
point blank and the period.
Right. But at the time, you know, we young.
Like, why you doing all that for no man?
I was like, you doing all that for daddy? But it was a lesson. It was a lesson, because my mama was telling me, she always makes sure she is done and well kept together. And she said, and your daddy ain't seen me in a week. Oh, I gotta make sure I'm together.
Right inside.
And let me tell you, my daddy did not disappoint. Did not. He walked. My mom was sitting on the couch. My dad walked in the door. I'm so excited. Daddy, hey baby, hey. Who is that girl sitting over there on that couch? Who is that fine lady on that couch? And my mom just sitting over there blushing. Hey. I was sitting there like, oh God. But it was such a great lesson because my mom and dad, they did not shy away from affection. And when I tell you, they didn't care who they did in front of. They were the most loving people. But the thing was, they were very comical.
It's so funny.
My mom and dad would sit there and talk about each other's mamas. And I used to be like, you guys talking about grandmamas? So, I'm telling you, they were awesome.
They would. That's so crazy that you bring all this stuff up because I promise you, that's how people do me.
That's exactly how we do you.
Yeah, me and Devin be like that. It's so funny. And they had been married for it's not like they had been only married for like 5 or 10 years. 32. They had 32 years and you were still acting like that. That's 32. Absolutely amazing. 32. I love it. And they were absolutely great examples. Yes, and they were actually absolutely models to who we should be individually and collectively. And I tell people all the time, I wish you could have met him because I promise you, you would have walked away like, I don't even want to deal with nobody else because after dealing with him, it's like, who else you need? You don't need nobody else.
He was awesome.
You need nobody else. So Tiff, what else do you think you can say to help people that are dealing with grief to endure grief or, get through the grief?
One of the things I would tell people is don't be afraid to talk to anybody about how you're feeling. And I know, a lot of people have trust issues. You don't want to talk to any and everybody about the things that you're dealing with. So I understand that. Get yourself a confidant. If you don't have a best friend that you can talk to, I know we shy away from therapy in the Black community. Therapy works. Counseling works. I'm telling you.
And I'm a life coach.
Absolutely. And then, a lot of these churches have grief ministries.
Yeah, they do.
A lot of different counselors offer sessions on grief for not the full price, but for half, because it's such a mental and emotional strain on who you are as a person. I would first say, please seek some help from anybody. Number 2, allow yourself the opportunity to grieve. I can't stress that enough. I think in my later days now, I have learned, allow myself to grieve. Give yourself permission for that, and then give yourself time. It takes time to get over things. I remember when my dad used to say, when God has truly healed you from something because the sting isn't there. Because it's the initial sting. Everything hurts so bad. But as time goes by, it doesn't hurt as bad. I'll give my testimony. I remember the first year, I couldn't even look at a picture of my dad without being extremely emotional. And then year 2, I saw that I could look at a picture of him. So my dad's been deceased now for almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years this month. And I can look at pictures of him. I can look at videos of him. I can talk about him without my eyes swelling or my heart feeling like it's about to burst out of my chest. So it takes time. So give yourself those 3 things. Talk to somebody if you need to. Give yourself permission to grieve and allow yourself time. It's not an easy process, losing somebody. And if you're like me and you were feeling very abandoned by anything, don't let that sense of abandonment interrupt the rest of your relationships in life, because it can. It can make you not want to be close to anybody because you think they're going to leave you the way that parent did. And if you have both of your parents in your life, love on them and cherish them. If you don't have any of your parents in your life, but you want to have a relationship with them, I encourage you to get that, because there's nothing worse than for them to leave you and you feel very empty still. And you don't get to say the things you need to say or hear the things that you think you need to hear. So I would encourage you to reach out to that person and get the information that you need, because tomorrow's not promising. Like I said, my father otherwise was pretty healthy, and then that one thing took over. So you want to make sure that you have a better relationship. And I hope that helps anybody. Counseling is helpful. Giving yourself permission to grieve is helpful. And time. Those are some really good things that I would give you.
That's good. And she's right about that. Reaching out to your parent if you feel like, because that's something that I did before my dad died. That's why, even though I cried and grieved the relationship not happening, I didn't grieve it as bad as I probably would have, because I had already made peace. that we were not going to have the relationship that I desired from him, because I said whatever I needed to say. I did all I could do or whatever. So when he died, you know, it was kind of like, okay, I'm crying and grieving because we can't have that relationship, but I'm not crying and grieving because I didn't try, and because I didn't say what I needed to say, and I have regrets, you know. So that was a good thing. So Tiffany, that is all we have today. So tell the people how they can contact you for your services and how they can follow you on social media.
Okay, so the name of our business is Serene Touch Wellness and Massage. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram by typing in that name. Our website is serenetouch.net. So you can go to the website. You can find everything out about us. You can book with us. Anything that you need to know, you can find in those places.
Awesome. That was great, friend. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. So I hope that helped someone out there today. I really hope that this helps you get through. And every episode in this series, like I said, pay attention, look out, because we don't know a lot of this stuff, and a lot of stuff people don't share about their grief. So I got people that will talk the real talk about grief that they deal with. So make sure that you on this YouTube page, Latoya Shantae Kite, subscribe, hit the notification bell to make sure that you see all of my episodes in this series, and the ones that I've already done and the ones that are upcoming. Make sure you check that out. Also, you can follow me on social media, Latoya Shantae Kite. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at that name. And as well, if you want to contact me, or you have any questions, or you have a topic that you want me to speak about, or you have something that you're dealing with that you would like me to help you through, you can go to thecompletewoman19@gmail.com, and you can hit me up there, and I will definitely reach out. Thank you all for tuning in. Goodbye, my love.
Bye.